My name is Mufti Menk, and I welcome you to this channel, a sanctuary of wisdom, guidance, and inspiration drawn from the Quran and Sunnah. Here, we remind one another that sustenance is not only about wealth, it is about purity, peace, and blessings from Allah. Together, we reflect on the signs that Allah is preparing rizq for us, when we stay away from haram to invite halal, when generosity opens doors of abundance, when patience becomes a shield, when inner peace settles our hearts, when new opportunities unfold, and when gratitude magnifies every blessing. This is where your heart learns to trust Allah fully, no matter the uncertainty. Subscribe and stay connected, for each reminder may be the spark your soul needs to find hope, strength, and closeness to Allah. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most powerful keys that unlocks the treasures of Allah's mercy is gratitude. Gratitude is not merely a word we utter when life goes our way, nor is it a shallow expression reserved only for moments of ease. Gratitude is an attitude of the heart, a state of the soul, and a constant awareness that everything we have, our health, our wealth, our family, even the air we breathe, is a gift from Allah. When a believer learns to say Alhamdulillah with sincerity, when he pauses in the midst of his struggles and whispers thanks to his Lord, the doors of unseen blessings begin to open. Allah promises in the Quran, "If you are grateful, I will surely increase you." And the words of Allah are truth. Think about this for a moment. The clothes you wear, the food on your plate, the roof above your head. Millions around the world do not have what you have. Some cry themselves to sleep because hunger gnaws at their stomachs. Others shiver through the night because they have no blanket. And yet here you are, perhaps dissatisfied with what you possess, overlooking the mercy of Allah upon you. When gratitude is absent, the heart becomes blind, unable to see the abundance already surrounding it. But when you pause and acknowledge even the smallest of blessings, it is as if a light ignites within your chest, and that light attracts more rizq, more barakah, more goodness into your life. Sometimes you may think, but my wealth is not growing, my opportunities seem limited, my life feels stuck. Yet the secret lies not in how much you own, but in how you perceive it. A man with little, but who constantly thanks Allah, is wealthier than the one who hoards millions, but complains day and night. True richness, as our beloved Prophet said, is not measured in possessions, but in the contentment of the soul. If your heart rests in gratitude, you are already rich, because you are connected to the giver of all riches. Gratitude is also a shield. It protects you from arrogance, from envy, from despair. When you recognize that every morsel of food, every drop of water, every breath is gifted to you by Allah, pride melts away, and you bow your head in humility. You realize that your wealth is not the result of your intelligence alone, not the fruit of your efforts alone, but the generosity of Allah who allowed your mind to think, your body to work, your heart to beat, and your lungs to breathe. Without Him, you are nothing, and this realization makes you gentle, compassionate, and giving. Notice how gratitude transforms pain into patience. When hardship strikes and you still find something to thank Allah for, the burden lightens. You begin to see the trial not as destruction, but as preparation. You begin to understand that even in suffering, Allah places hidden blessings. Maybe that illness brings you closer to Him. Maybe that financial setback protects you from arrogance. Maybe that delay saves you from harm. Gratitude allows you to say, Alhamdulillah, my Lord knows best. Even when your eyes cannot see the wisdom. How many times have we lost ourselves in complaint? We look at those above us in wealth, in status, in worldly possessions, and we feel deprived. Yet our Prophet taught us to look instead at those below us, those with less, so that we appreciate what we have. Comparison robs us of gratitude. contentment restores it. Each time you thank Allah for what is in your hands, He promises to place more. But each time you belittle what you have, you shut the doors to increase. Reflect on your own life. Was there a time when you showed gratitude for something small, and soon after Allah expanded it for you? Maybe you thanked Him for a simple meal, and suddenly opportunities came that improved your financial situation. Maybe you thanked Him for your health, and He gave you energy and strength to accomplish goals you thought were impossible. Gratitude is like planting seeds in fertile soil. The more you sow, the more fruits you reap. The opposite is also true. Ingratitude shrinks blessings. When you complain about what you don't have, when you forget the giver and chase only the gift, you find yourself restless, dissatisfied, and empty. A heart without gratitude is a heart that is never full. Even if wealth pours into such a person's life, it will feel like dust slipping through his fingers. Gratitude, however, transforms even the smallest sip of water into a treasure, and even the simplest home into a palace of peace. Do not wait for wealth to come before you thank Allah. Do not think, when I finally achieve this, then I will be grateful. Gratitude is not postponed to the future, it is practiced in the now. If you cannot thank Allah for what you already have, why would He give you more? Gratitude today prepares you for blessings tomorrow. If you want your rizq to expand, start thanking Allah sincerely for every drop He has already placed in your life. And gratitude is not just in words. It is in action. When you thank Allah for wealth, show it by giving charity. When you thank Allah for health, show it by using your body in worship and service. When you thank Allah for knowledge, share it with others. Gratitude without action is incomplete. True shukr is to use the blessing in a way that pleases the one who gave it. Gratitude also lives in the heart, in the way you think. Each time a negative thought arises, I have nothing, my life is hard, I am unlucky, replace it with remembrance. Allah has given me much, my life is filled with mercy, my Lord has never abandoned me. Slowly, your heart begins to taste sweetness in remembrance. You start noticing blessings you once ignored, the smile of a child, the warmth of sunlight, the ability to hear the Quran, the peace of prayer. Each of these is rizq, and each of them is multiplied when you acknowledge them. My brothers and sisters, rizq is not only money. Rizq is peace of mind, love in the home, guidance in the heart, safety in the streets, forgiveness from Allah. All of these come when gratitude fills your life. And all of them disappear when complaint rules your tongue. Train yourself each day to count blessings instead of problems, to say Alhamdulillah instead of why me, and to focus on what you have instead of what you lack. When you walk this path of gratitude, you will see miracles. Doors you thought were closed will open. Barriers you thought were walls will turn into pathways. Allah's mercy will reach you in ways you never dreamed of. A grateful heart is like a magnet. It pulls rizq from directions you could never imagine, and Allah's promise will never fail. So never underestimate the power of saying Alhamdulillah. Say it with your tongue, mean it with your heart, live it with your actions. And as you do, you will see how Allah increases your wealth, your peace, your opportunities, and your blessings until you realize that true abundance was never in the possessions, but in the contentment and barakah that gratitude brings. Alhamdulillah is not just a word, it is the key that unlocks the treasures of your life. One of the greatest misunderstandings many of us fall into is to assume that trials mean Allah is angry with us, or that hardships are a punishment for something we have done. But if we return to the Quran, if we reflect upon the lives of the prophets, and if we truly understand the mercy of Allah, we will see that trials are not punishments, they are preparation. They are polishing the heart, refining the soul and shaping you for blessings greater than you can imagine. Allah Himself tells us, "And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger, and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give glad tidings to the patient." When the Most Merciful speaks of trials, He immediately follows it with glad tidings. That means your difficulty is not meant to break you, but to raise you higher. Every diamond was once a piece of coal that endured pressure. Every pearl was once a grain of sand that endured irritation. And every believer who shines in the sight of Allah is one who endured trials with patience. Your struggles are not wasted. Each tear you cry, each night you spend in worry, each moment of pain that you endure while holding onto your faith is recorded by Allah, and none of it goes unnoticed. Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear, which means if He placed this trial upon you, He already knows you can handle it. When wealth delays in your life, when rizq feels tight, when opportunities seem far away, it may not be because Allah has abandoned you. It may be because He is preparing you. He is cleansing you of arrogance, teaching you humility, training your soul to rely upon Him fully, so that when the wealth does arrive, it does not destroy your faith, but instead becomes a tool of goodness. Sometimes, if blessings come before we are ready, they become a curse. But if Allah polishes your heart through trials first, then when blessings arrive, you will carry them with wisdom, and they will carry you closer to Allah. Remember the life of Yusuf, peace be upon him. He was thrown into a well, sold as a slave, accused falsely, and imprisoned unjustly. Years of hardship passed, yet each trial was shaping him for the position Allah had already written for him. If Yusuf had never faced the pit, the slavery, the prison, he would not have become the ruler in Egypt who saved nations from famine. His trials were not punishment, they were preparation, and the same applies to you. When a believer faces financial hardship, perhaps it is Allah teaching them generosity, so that when wealth comes, they will know the value of giving. When a believer faces sickness, perhaps it is Allah teaching them empathy, so that when health returns, they will use their strength in compassion. When a believer faces heartbreak, perhaps it is Allah teaching them resilience, so that when love returns, they will cherish it with gratitude. Every trial has within it a seed of mercy, even if our eyes cannot see it at the moment. Patience is not simply waiting. Patience is trusting Allah while you wait. It is refusing to let despair take root in your heart. It is saying, "My Lord knows best, and His timing is perfect." The Prophet said, "How amazing is the affair of the believer! Verily, all of his affair is good, and this is not for anyone except the believer. If something good happens to him, he is grateful, and that is good for him. If something bad befalls him, he is patient, and that is good for him." This means your situation is always good. If you are grateful in blessings and patient in trials, you are winning in both conditions. But patience does not mean passivity. It does not mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means you strive, you make dua, you put in the effort, you seek halal means, but your heart remains calm, not frantic. You do what you can and you leave the outcome to Allah. That balance is the beauty of sabr. You walk in the storm with your head high, not because the wind is weak, but because you know who controls the wind and know that patience brings rewards beyond measure. Allah tells us in the Quran, "Indeed, the patient will be given their reward without account." Without account. That means infinite, immeasurable, overflowing. Imagine standing on the day of judgment and seeing mountains of reward placed before you and being told, "This is because you endured with patience when you were tested." Every moment of struggle is an investment into eternity. The next time you face hardship, shift your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why me?" begin to ask, "What is Allah preparing me for?" Instead of seeing the trial as an obstacle, see it as a classroom. Each pain is a lesson, each delay is wisdom, each struggle is guidance. And when Allah finally opens the door, you will look back and realize that every difficulty was necessary. Without them, you would not be the person capable of handling the blessing. My dear brothers and sisters, do not curse your trials. Embrace them as signs that Allah cares for you enough to prepare you. He does not test those He does not love. The greater the trial, the greater the rank awaiting you if you endure with faith. Trust in Allah's plan, for His wisdom is beyond what our limited eyes can see. So when life feels heavy, when your rizq feels distant, when your heart aches from the weight of trials, remind yourself, this is not punishment. This is polishing, this is shaping, this is preparation for the barakah already written for you. Stand firm, remain patient, and soon you will witness the promise of Allah unfold in ways more beautiful than you ever imagined. Patience brings reward beyond measure. One of the greatest tests we face in life is the test of our sustenance, our rizq, our earnings, the wealth that comes into our hands. Every human being desires comfort, security, and stability, and often that desire becomes so strong that we may be tempted to cross boundaries that Allah has set. But know with certainty that rizq that comes through haram will never bring peace, and wealth gained through forbidden means will never carry barakah. It may glitter, it may appear abundant, but it will poison the heart, rob the soul of tranquility, and eventually vanish, leaving nothing but regret. On the other hand, when you stay away from haram, when you resist the temptation of unlawful earnings even if it looks easy, even if it promises quick gain, you are protecting your rizq, and you are ensuring that what flows into your life comes with purity, peace, and blessing. Allah reminds us in the Quran, O you who have believed, do not consume one another's wealth unjustly, but only in lawful business by mutual consent. And our beloved Prophet warned that there will come a time when people will not care where their wealth comes from, whether halal or haram. My brothers and sisters, we live in such a time today. Temptations are everywhere, shortcuts are offered, haram opportunities appear easy, and many people chase after them without hesitation. But for the believer who fears Allah, the choice is clear. Better to earn little with halal and sleep with a heart at peace, than to earn much with haram and carry a heart heavy with guilt, anxiety, and the absence of barakah. Reflect on this truth. Rizq that is meant for you will reach you, no matter what. It does not require you to compromise your faith. It does not require you to sell your soul. What Allah has written for you is yours, and no amount of honesty or dishonesty can change that. If you pursue haram thinking you will gain more, you are only deceiving yourself. What you gain may be wealth, but it will not be wealth with blessing. It will not bring you true comfort. It will not last. But when you choose halal, when you restrain yourself from haram, Allah places barakah in what little you have, and that barakah stretches beyond imagination. A small amount of halal wealth can bring more happiness, health, and security than mountains of haram wealth ever could. Remember also that every bite of food you place in your mouth, every morsel you feed your children, carries with it either blessing or harm depending on how it was earned. If your earnings are pure, your doors are raised with strength. The Prophet mentioned a man who travels long distances, raising his hands to the sky and calling upon Allah, yet his food is haram, his drink is haram, his clothing is haram, his nourishment is haram. So how can his supplications be answered? This should shake us to our core. When our earnings are pure, our doors carry power. When they are tainted, even our prayers are weakened. It is not always easy to resist haram. Sometimes you are desperate, sometimes you are pressured, sometimes you feel as though everyone else is doing it. But that moment of resistance is what defines the believer, Every time you walk away from a forbidden deal, every time you decline unlawful earnings, every time you say no to what displeases Allah, you are not losing, you are winning. You are showing Allah that His pleasure matters more to you than the temporary glitter of this world, and Allah never allows such sacrifices to go unrewarded. When you give up something for His sake, He replaces it with something far better, even if it takes time. Think of the story of the man who once had an opportunity to gain quick money through deception. His friends encouraged him, saying, "No one will know, just take it." But he chose instead to remain truthful. At that time, he felt as though he had lost an opportunity. Yet years later, Allah opened doors for him beyond anything he had imagined. That is the reality of halal. It may feel slower, it may feel harder, but it brings stability, longevity, and barakah that haram can never bring. My brothers and sisters, when you eat from halal, your heart feels light, your home feels peaceful, your sleep feels restful. You find ease in worship, sweetness in salah, and sincerity in dua. But when you consume haram, your heart feels heavy, your soul feels restless, and your blessings slip away silently. Even if the world praises you, even if you appear successful, inside you feel an emptiness that no wealth can fill. This is the difference between rizq with barakah and rizq without barakah. Stay away from haram, not only for yourself, but for your family. Children raised on halal wealth grow with purity in their hearts. They inherit not only your money, but the blessings of your integrity. But children raised on haram wealth carry its weight within them. Protect your home by ensuring that every coin, every morsel, every gift you bring into it is clean in the sight of Allah. Remember also that halal wealth is not only about money, it is about honesty in dealings, fairness in contracts, avoiding exploitation, fulfilling your promises, and respecting the rights of others. Each of these is part of halal rizq. To cheat, to lie, to deceive, even in small amounts, is to invite darkness into your earnings. But to remain upright, even when it costs you, is to invite light into your life. Do not fear poverty by staying away from haram. Poverty is not in the hands of people, it is in the decree of Allah. What is written for you will reach you, and often, when you fear losing by avoiding haram, you actually gain. Allah tells us, and whoever fears Allah, He will make for him a way out and provide for him from where he does not expect. That means if you remain conscious of Allah, avoiding what is haram, He Himself will open doors for you from directions you could never imagine. So, the next time a haram opportunity appears in your life, remind yourself, this is not a gain, it is a test. It is Allah watching to see whether you trust His promise or whether you chase the illusion of this world. Choose trust, choose purity, choose halal, and you will see how Allah places barakah in your life in ways you never dreamed possible. Every time you resist haram, you are inviting halal. Every time you close a door to what is forbidden, Allah opens doors to what is blessed. Every time you sacrifice a temporary gain for His sake, He replaces it with a permanent blessing. This is His promise, and His promise never fails. Purity in earnings leads to purity in life, and purity in life leads to purity in the hereafter. My dear brothers and sisters, protect your rizq, guard your heart, and never allow haram to enter your hands. For what comes with impurity will vanish, but what comes with purity will remain with you in this world and in the next. Stay away from haram to invite halal, for true rizq flows only with purity and peace. One of the most beautiful realities of life is that generosity never diminishes what you have. To the human eye, giving away what is in your hands seems like a loss. If you part with your wealth, you fear having less. If you give from your time, your energy, your kindness, you fear being depleted. But Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has designed life in such a way that every act of generosity only multiplies what you have. What you give for His sake never leaves you empty. Instead, it comes back to you in forms far greater than you can count, sometimes in wealth, sometimes in peace, sometimes in opportunities, sometimes in protection from harm. The hand that gives is always blessed. Allah tells us in the Quran, the example of those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah is like a seed of grain that sprouts 7 ears. In every ear are 100 grains, and Allah multiplies for whom He wills. Imagine a single seed producing 700. That is the power of giving for Allah's sake. You give one, and Allah multiplies it by hundreds, by thousands, sometimes in ways you cannot even recognize. What appears small in your eyes becomes vast in His account. Generosity is not about how much you give, but about the heart with which you give. A person who gives 1 coin with sincerity may outshine the one who donates thousands for show. Our beloved Prophet said, "Protect yourself from the hellfire even with half a date in charity." That means no act of generosity is ever too small. When done with sincerity, even half a date, even a glass of water, even a smile, carries weight with Allah and returns to you multiplied in barakah. Think of the story of the poor man who came to the Prophet with nothing to offer. He said he had nothing to give. Yet the Prophet reminded him that even the simplest acts of kindness, like helping someone with a load or offering a smile, are forms of sadaqah. Generosity is not restricted to wealth. It is an attitude of giving, a way of life. The one who gives time, compassion, forgiveness, guidance, or even just good words is as generous as the one who spends wealth. And the promise of Allah is for all forms of giving. But let us also remember that charity is not a transaction where we expect immediate return in worldly form. Sometimes Allah multiplies your wealth. Sometimes He protects you from a calamity you did not see. Sometimes He places peace in your heart. Sometimes He guides your children. Sometimes He grants you health. These are all hidden returns of generosity. You may not connect them, but Allah's system never fails. Every drop you give for His sake returns to you in ways you cannot imagine. Generosity purifies the heart from greed. Wealth by nature can be a test. If it is hoarded, it can harden the heart and create arrogance. But when you give, you soften your soul. You remind yourself that wealth is not yours, but a trust from Allah. You become a channel of blessings, and Allah loves those who share what He has given them. Have you ever noticed how the generous person is always loved? Their presence is light, their absence is felt, and their legacy continues even after they are gone. This is because generosity is a form of immortality. What you give outlives you. Consider also that on the day of judgment, every act of generosity will stand before you. The Prophet said, "The believer's shade on the day of resurrection will be his charity." Imagine standing in the heat of that day when people are drowning in sweat, and your acts of generosity form a shade above you, protecting you. Each coin given, each morsel shared, each kindness offered becomes your protection when you need it most. Some may fear giving because they worry their wealth will run out. But reflect on the words of the Prophet, "Charity does not decrease wealth." What does this mean? It means that while your hand may feel lighter, your wealth does not diminish in the sight of Allah. Instead, barakah enters it. You may find that your money stretches further, your health lasts longer, your opportunities increase, and your heart feels fuller. This is the multiplication of generosity. My brothers and sisters, sometimes the generosity you show today becomes the reason for doors opening years later. Perhaps you help a struggling student now, and years later that same person becomes a means of support for you or your family. Perhaps you feed someone hungry today, and Allah decrees that in your time of need, sustenance will come to you from an unexpected place. Generosity is like sending seeds into the future. You may not see the harvest now, but when you need it most, Allah brings it back to you. And generosity is not about giving only when you have excess. The truest generosity is to give when you feel you have little, to trust that Allah will not abandon you. Remember the woman who gave her last piece of bread in charity, only to find her jar replenished. Remember the stories of companions who gave away their wealth for Allah's sake, never fearing poverty. Their trust was not in their wallets, but in their Lord. That trust is what made their giving so powerful. Each time you give, you are also freeing yourself from attachment to this dunya. Wealth ties us down, possessions weigh us, but generosity cuts those chains. It teaches us that nothing is truly ours, that we are but caretakers of what Allah has placed in our hands. And when you willingly release what you hold, Allah replaces it with something far greater, sometimes in this world, always in the next. So, my dear brothers and sisters, train your heart to be generous in every situation. Give when you are comfortable, and give when you are in difficulty. Give from your wealth, your time, your energy, your compassion. Give privately to protect your sincerity, and give publicly to inspire others. Never think what you have is too little to share. A hand that gives is a hand that will never be forgotten by Allah. Generosity multiplies sustenance. It increases wealth. It expands the heart. It protects in hardship. And it secures your place in the hereafter. The hand that gives is always blessed, for it is a hand that mirrors the mercy of Allah upon His creation. True inner peace is not something that can be purchased, earned through worldly possessions, or attained by securing every desire of the heart. It is something far deeper, far more subtle, and yet more powerful than anything this world can offer. When a believer feels that calmness in their chest despite storms raging all around, when they sense a tranquility in their heart despite uncertainty in life, that peace is a sign of something divine. It is Allah whispering reassurance into their soul. Trust me, your sustenance, your rizq, your future, your provision, it is already written, it is on its way. This is the kind of peace that no wealth, no status, no human promise can ever give. It is a serenity that only comes when a servant learns to surrender fully to the Lord of the worlds. How many times have we felt restless even when everything seems fine? We may have money, we may have health, we may have family around us, but still the heart feels uneasy. This is because true peace does not come from external circumstances. It comes from a connection with Allah. A heart that is far from Him will always be unsettled, chasing shadows that never satisfy. But the one who bows their heart before their Creator finds a sweetness of calmness that even the harshest of trials cannot erase. This is why Allah says in the Quran, "Verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest." No amount of wealth or worldly stability can guarantee that rest. But a single moment of sincere remembrance, a single tear shed in dua, a single sajda where you pour out your fears to Allah, can settle a storm that nothing else could. Sometimes Allah allows uncertainty into our lives so that we may discover this peace. When everything is secure, when life is flowing according to our plans, we may forget who is truly in control. But when the ground shakes beneath our feet, when the path ahead looks foggy and unclear, when people disappoint us, when doors close, those are the very moments when Allah opens a hidden door inside the heart. That door leads to reliance, tawakkul, and closeness to Him. And when a person steps through it, they discover that even in uncertainty, they are safe. Even in difficulty, they are calm. Even in loss, they feel blessed. Because they know Allah has not abandoned them. Think about the moments in your own life when you had no answer, when you didn't know what tomorrow would bring, when you feared that everything was falling apart, and yet somehow deep down there was a voice that said, "You will be okay." That voice was not your own. That was Allah placing sakina, divine tranquility, into your heart, just as He placed it in the hearts of the believers at the most difficult times. Remember the Battle of Badr, when the Muslims were few and weak, facing an enemy far greater than them. Allah says He sent down tranquility upon their hearts. That same tranquility is available to every believer who turns sincerely to Him. It is important to understand that this peace does not mean the absence of pain. It does not mean life will suddenly become easy or that hardships will vanish. It means that even in the middle of hardship, you are not shaken. Your faith anchors you like a tree rooted deep in the earth. The storm may blow, branches may bend, but the roots remain firm because they are connected to Allah. That is the gift of divine nearness. There are people who walk through life with wealth, health, and power, but inside they are restless, anxious, fearful, and lost. And there are others who may have little, who may face great trials, but their faces shine with contentment. Their hearts are filled with calm, and their souls radiate peace. The difference is not in what they possess, but in who they trust. One trusts in the temporary, and the other trusts in the eternal. When you feel inner peace, know that it is a sign of Allah's special mercy upon you. It is as though He is telling you, "Do not worry, I am with you." It is a sign that your heart is aligned with His will, that you are not fighting against His decree, but accepting it with humility. And that acceptance brings a sweetness that nothing else can give. The Prophet told us that wondrous is the affair of the believer, for everything is good for him. If good comes, he is grateful, and that is good for him. If hardship comes, he is patient, and that is good for him. Only a believer can reach that state, because only a believer knows that behind every moment, tease or hardship, there is Allah. So when calmness enters your heart in uncertain times, cherish it, guard it, nurture it by remembering Allah often, by making dua, by reciting Quran, by surrounding yourself with what pleases Him, because that peace is a treasure greater than gold. It is a sign that Allah has not only written your rizq in the future, but is already blessing you in the present with something priceless, contentment. The one who lives with this peace walks differently through life. They are not desperate, they are not consumed by comparison, they are not shaken by delays. They understand that Allah's timing is always perfect, that rizq comes with barakah when Allah wills, and that every test is simply another step closer to Him. When the heart whispers with anxiety, let the Quran be its reply. When the soul trembles with fear, let the remembrance of Allah soothe it. And when the mind questions, when will my rizq come? When will my dua be answered? Let the heart answer back, trust Allah, it is already on its way. And so, true inner peace is not the absence of uncertainty, but the presence of Allah in the heart during that uncertainty. It is a sign of divine nearness, a reminder that the most merciful is closer to you than your jugular vein, guiding you, sustaining you, and whispering to your soul, trust me. May Allah grant us hearts that find rest in Him, souls that are content with His decree, and lives that radiate the peace that only He can give. Every opportunity that unfolds in your life is not random. It is not by coincidence. It is a door carefully opened by the will of Allah. Sometimes you pray for rizq, you pray for relief, you pray for an opening, and then something unexpected happens. Meeting, a new path, a change in circumstance. In those moments, you must remind yourself that Allah responds in ways far beyond what your limited mind can anticipate. He does not always send sustenance wrapped in gold. He sometimes sends it wrapped in challenge, in a test, or in a new chance that requires courage to take. To recognize opportunity is to recognize that Allah is inviting you forward, gently telling you to trust Him more than you trust your own doubts. How often have we let fear close the door Allah has opened? Fear whispers that we are not ready, that failure is certain, that the unknown is dangerous. But Allah has promised that whoever puts their trust in Him, He will be sufficient for them. When you see a path appear before you, do not rush to measure it with your own eyes. Do not quickly calculate with your own limited reasoning. Instead, place your heart in the hands of the one who never misguides. Tawakkul is the key here. Trusting Allah does not mean you sit idle and wait. It means you step forward, believing that He will guide your steps, even when the ground feels unsteady. Rizq is not only money. It is health, peace, opportunities, knowledge, and people placed in your life at the right time. When a new door appears, it may be Allah's way of sending you the rizq you have been asking for, though it may not look like it at first. A new connection, a job, an unexpected offer, even a trial. All of these can carry within them the sustenance that has already been written for you. Your duty is not to doubt, but to walk with faith. The Prophet reminded us that if we trusted Allah as He deserves to be trusted, He would provide for us the way He provides for the birds. They leave their nests hungry in the morning and return full in the evening. The bird does not sit still waiting for food to fall into its beak. It moves, it flies, it searches, but all the while with the certainty that provision will come. When Allah places an opportunity before you, it is a chance to live this hadith. Step forward with effort, but anchor your heart in Allah. Do not think that by seizing the opportunity, you are the one creating your future. No, you are simply answering the call of the Lord, who already wrote your future before you were born. This realization softens the heart. It removes the anxiety of outcomes, because you understand that you are not walking blindly. You are walking under the gaze of the Most Merciful. There are people who pray for openings, but when they come, they hesitate, they refuse, they doubt. And later, they wonder why nothing changed. The truth is, Allah had already answered, but they did not trust enough to walk through the door. Opportunities are divine gifts, but gifts must be accepted. They require courage, patience, and above all, faith. You may not know what awaits you beyond that door, but you know who holds what is beyond. And if Allah is the one who opened it, then surely what lies ahead will only lead you closer to His mercy, even if the path seems difficult at first. Sometimes the opportunity is disguised. A hardship may open a door you never considered. Losing one path may redirect you to something far greater. When Yusuf was thrown into the well, when he was sold into slavery, when he was imprisoned, each of these moments seemed like a loss, but each was in reality a divine door leading him toward the station of honor Allah had written for him. If he had seen only the surface, he might have despaired. But Allah's wisdom was unfolding, and with patience and tawakkul, the final outcome was greater than he or anyone could have imagined. So when a door opens, do not ask, "What if I fail?" Ask instead, "What if this is the path Allah has chosen for me? What if this is the moment where my rizq is waiting? What if this is the answer to the dua I have been making for years?" Allah never abandons a heart that turns to Him with sincerity. He may delay, He may redirect, but He never neglects. Every opportunity is an invitation to trust Him more deeply, to rely on Him more sincerely, to move forward with humility while knowing that you are not moving alone. If your heart is restless, remember that calmness comes not from knowing the outcome, but from knowing Allah is the one controlling it. Every step you take with tawakkul is a step surrounded by angels, guarded by mercy, and guided by divine wisdom. So when a door opens before you, walk through it with your heart full of Allah's remembrance, your tongue wet with His praise, and your trust rooted firmly in His promise. Because the sustenance written for you is already yours. The opportunity is simply the key that unlocks what has been waiting. When Allah opens a door for you, step forward with faith, because what is meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you. May Allah bless your rizq, purify your heart, and fill your life with peace. Until next time, keep trusting Allah and never lose hope.